Induction is quite a new book. It was published in 2024, late last year, and the title refers to a hypnosis technique. This book is structured as a hypnosis novel or in hypnosis format. So, shock induction is a way to hypnotize people, I think. It's set in the 2030s in the future, and the general premise is there's a corporation called Greener Pastures, and they're in communication with schools and universities across the world or just America, and they place bids for smart students, and then once they've acquired or purchased those students, they can then use them or put them in influential places and positions in society. This book is formatted for the social media generation or the TikTok generation. The book is consisted of short paragraphs that are separated by these kind of bird symbols or bird asterisks. So it's like short form paragraphs. And the book itself is quite short. It's only about 200 pages. And there are links in the book as well. There's the book, it has themes of drugs as well. It's like a drug hypnosis kind of thing. And the book talks about scopolamine, which is a drug that causes a kind of zombie-like effect. And there's a link to an article just mid-story. And it's like a link to a Wikipedia page, I think. So it feels like reading an article in places, and it feels like it's been written for the social media generation, short form. So it's kind of, you could call it meta, or you could call it just like a modern day social media book. I learnt a few things reading this book. I learnt that apparently Adolf Hitler laced copies of Mein Kampf with a certain drug that made people drowsy, or it caused them to trip out. I can't remember what drug it was, but apparently, according to Chuck Palahniuk in this book, the Mein Kampf was laced with drugs, a certain drug that made people more inclined to read it. I haven't fact-checked that, but apparently it's true. I learnt that vanilla flavouring has beaver urine in it. And I also learnt about certain hypnosis techniques. Certain sections of this book feel like articles, as I say. There is a story, but interspersed within the story are these certain facts. I learnt another fact about if you overdose on aspirin, it's either aspirin or paracetamol, you actually go deaf, you lose your hearing. And that actually happens to the main protagonist in this story, which is a girl called Sam. In many ways, this story is about the commodification of human beings. It's about big business. There are themes of elitism, because you've got these high-performing students who are valuable, and Greener Pastures pays millions of dollars for them. So you've got a kind of elitism, big business thing going on, commodification. You've got corporate themes, which Chuck Palahniuk explores in Fight Club as well. That's a very corporate story. You've got drugs. The story feels quite drugged up. You've got the Mein Kampf thing. I think the idea is you're after reading that Mein Kampf fact, I think you're supposed to wonder whether the pages of this book are also laced with drugs, because it feels quite trippy. It's got a kind of Alice in Wonderland feel to it. The main protagonist is a young girl, and she's very smart. She's a high performer, but she comes from a kind of poor, abusive family, and this greener pasture corporation makes a bid for her. That's the main premise. So you've got a kind of drug theme going through it. Also, stained glass shows up in this book as well. Like the kind of stained glass that you see in churches. That plays a part in the book as well, somehow. I don't quite know why, but it does. Shock induction is very dizzy and disorienting. It's very fragmented, and like a bit like the invention of sound, another Chuck Palahniuk story I read. I was quite confused through the story. There's this avocado thing going on. A character in the protagonist's family, her abusive uncle, keeps going on about avocados. They're like pages with just avocado, whatever that was about. It's convoluted. It doesn't seem to go from A to B. It goes from A to Z, back to B, then back to Z or whatever. It's very confusing, very dizzying, and it's a terrifying concept. A corporation who buys children. It's immoral, terrifying, but it's just not scary because of the way that it's written. Like most, if not all, of Chuck Palahniuk's books, this is too experimental. He tries to write in a certain way. He tries to deviate from standard storytelling. And it just doesn't quite work for me. He tries too hard. I didn't feel any of the emotions that I was supposed to feel reading this story. I didn't feel sympathy for the protagonist, the young girl. I just didn't really care about her that much. I wasn't scared of the corporation who were buying the children. Again, as I say, it's a terrifying concept if it happened in real life, but it wasn't scary. I wasn't scared reading about it. But the only emotion I did feel was the hypnotic disorientation. I felt confused and disoriented pretty much all the way through. I didn't know what was real and what wasn't, which is okay. Having a kind of dreamy story where you don't really know what's real and what's not is okay, but I kind of felt that all the way through. It just didn't quite resonate with me properly. And it hasn't lingered with me. I read this book about 2 weeks ago, and a great test for any film or novel is, does it linger? Does it stay in your mind? Do I think about it for days or weeks afterwards? And I just haven't really been thinking about this book after finishing it. It didn't really click with me. And that's like the ultimate bad sign. It's like the ultimate test that it's failed. I feel a bit harsh saying this about this book, because I do like Chuck Palahniuk, and I do consider him to be a proper writer, a proper artist. He's been writing for a long time, since the 90s at least, and he was taught by Tom Spanbauer, who was apparently a good writer. And he's very knowledgeable about writing and publishing and all the rest of it. But every time I read one of his books, I just don't quite like it. I love his interviews. He's been on the Joe Rogan podcast a couple of times, and both of those interviews have been brilliant. And I've listened to other interviews with Chuck Palahniuk on other podcasts, and I've really enjoyed it. He does great interviews. He knows about books. He knows about writing. And I love listening to him. But when it comes to his stories, it just feels as though he tries too hard, and he doesn't seem to like standard methods of storytelling, and it works against him, I think. I enjoyed reading Haunted. I read Haunted in 2017. I like that, especially the Nightmare Box, which is a short story in that. I quite enjoyed Damned. That was quite funny. But there have been many other books that I've read that I haven't enjoyed. I didn't enjoy this one. The invention of sound was too convoluted, and snuff as well. Snuff is a great concept for a book. It's like about a huge gangbang, and it's based on a true story. Nowadays, you've got Bonnie Blue who sleeps with like loads of men. In the 1990s, it was Annabelle Chong in America, and Snuff is based on this huge porn 100-man or 1,000-man gangbang thing. So he has these great ideas for books, and I love that. But he just doesn't write them in a way that resonates with me, which is a shame. And I think I'm actually done now. I've invested lots of my time in Chuck Palahniuk's books, and I've tried to like them, but I've only actually liked about 2 out of 10, which is not enough. So I think I'm actually done now. I think this is probably going to be the last book I'll read of his. Although I will continue to listen to his interviews, as I say, because he's a very good interviewee. And his email newsletters are quite good as well. He's got a Substack, which is quite good, which I actually advise you to sign up for. But it's just his books that I don't like. So I actually gave this one 2 stars on Goodreads, which is quite a low score, which is a shame. So it's a bad review for me. Thanks very much for watching. I'll be back in about 2 weeks with another book review. In the meantime, try to have a good day on this hypnotic, shocking, haunted piece of rock we call Earth. Lots of love. Goodbye.